Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's webinar. We're up to webinar 7, would you believe? I haven't talked to you guys for a few weeks because you've been working with the lovely Katrina Lees, my amazing business partner, and the amazing guests that she's been introducing you to. Tonight we're talking online procedures and systems, which kind of sounds like a bit of a ho-hum topic, but as always, we're going to make it really exciting. And it's actually really, really important when it comes to good business. And there's some great systems out there. And I've got a great guest that can tell you all about them. If this is your first time on one of these Sunshine Coast Level Up webinars, I want to tell you that there is a whole program called the Level Up program. And this webinar is part of that. So these webinars are completely free because Sunshine Coast Council is funding them. They want you, small business owners on the Sunshine Coast, to get connected to faster internet, the NBN if it's available in your area, which is being rolled out at the moment across all the different regions at different times. And they want you to start using more online tools to run your business. And by doing that, you can absolutely save time or be more productive and save money or make more money because you can start to compete nationally and internationally if that's what you want to do. Now, some businesses can't go national because they can only ever service a local customer base. But everything we teach on this program is general for all industries. And we're pretty sure we can teach you something that will be really valuable to you tonight. If I haven't talked to you before, my name's Yvette Adams. You can hear I have a Kiwi accent. I've been living in Australia for almost 15 years now, and I am a proud Australian citizen now too, although I was very pleased to see New Zealand win the America's Cup today. Still do go for them in sport. I have 2 children. I guess I call myself a serial entrepreneur. Started 6 businesses. I've sold 2. I now run 3. And one of those businesses is called the Creative Collective. Now that's a digital marketing agency, and the sister company, the Training Collective, is a training organization. So those 2 companies successfully tendered to the Sunshine Coast Council to develop and deliver this program, given our years of experience in developing and delivering training on lots of stuff to do with digital. I do lots of stuff. I do lots of public speaking. I have my own show, it should say, about young entrepreneurs. And I'm also the chair of the Knowledge and Professional Services Task Force for Council and the chair of the Australian Institute of Company Directors on the Sunshine Coast. So I guess you could say I'm pretty active in the local business community. I'd now like to introduce you to our guest for tonight, Laurel Gray, who's dialing in to us from Sydney. Hey, Laurel.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. So Laurel, I met you a few years ago now, and I love that we share lots of common interests. I guess you could say we're both fellow geeks, but do you want to tell these guys a little bit about yourself and how you got into the space and why you know a bit about it?
Sure. Well, look, I've had my own sort of cloud technology integration business for the last 5 or 6 years. I set it up while I was living in Singapore, although obviously I've got an American accent. I'm originally from upstate New York and now live in Sydney. And look, I actually originally started my career, I don't even know if you know this, Yvette, but I started my career in like technology because I worked for Howard Storage World in Singapore. You're probably thinking that's a little bit weird. What does Howard Storage World have anything to do with technology? It's all about organizing your home using, knickknacks basically, and closet organizers. I basically started off helping people get organized in their houses and realized really quickly that the reason why people hold on to a lot of stuff is because of some sort of psychological thing. They might have lost a job, they might have had a difficult time in their life, and a lot of stuff piles up. And I realized that I didn't really want to be working specifically in that space, but I loved the concept of being organized. And so I thought, how can I apply this to businesses? And wound up sort of developing out a framework for businesses to get them organized and clear the clutter away. Because I really believe that if you're successful at anything, 99% of that is just being organized and staying on top of things. And that's why I think it's a really good fit. And I really appreciate you asking me to speak on this topic, because without systems and processes in your business, it's so easy for you to be overwhelmed and for the business to struggle.
Absolutely. And it can take a little time setting this stuff up, but I always explain it to people. It's like short-term pain for long-term gain, right? How do you describe to a business why you would want to look at this stuff?
It's more about the risks of not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's primarily the psychological effect of not being organized in your, especially your digital space. You know, it's easy to go look at a room and say, oh gosh, there's a bunch of clutter, there's a bunch of crap here, we've got to clean it out. And you can see why someone would be overwhelmed by that. But we don't often talk about the ramifications of having a cluttered inbox, of having a million files sitting there in your Dropbox or your Google Drive and not being able to find the right things for clients. This really affects us, not only our morale, but also our ability to focus and get things done throughout the day, and generate revenue for our businesses. So it's a really serious topic.
Yeah, and also our productivity of our staff, if we have any contractors, and ability to get help when you need help, when you want to start growing the business. So let's move on with our content tonight. So we want to talk about why have not just procedures, but online procedures, because in days gone by, really diligent companies would have something like that folder there where someone at some point had written those procedures, printed them off, maybe had tab files or highlights or something like that, and then it sat on the shelf. So Laurel, why do you love online procedures, and why even have procedures in the first place?
Well, I guess I'll start by addressing that question, in the sense that I think in the next year, year and a half, we're actually going to ban this use of online and the word digital from our vocabulary, because it's just going to be a given that all of this happens online, and people already are expecting, and by people I mean your staff are already expecting that everything be accessible from their mobile phone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's obvious that we need to have everything documented in some kind of online system that can be accessed from a mobile phone, from a tablet, and from any device or any computer that someone's logged into.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of having actual procedures, I would say it's not as important if it's just you running the business. And I'm not sure how many people are on the call that might be sole traders, for example. Do you have any statistics on that?
We do know that about 92% of the Sunshine Coast are micro businesses, as in only one or two. And when we run our workshops, I often ask that question, and a huge amount of the audience, or maybe half or at least 40%, are home-based. And often they are the only person in the business, but they do call on contractors and things like that, which procedures can be helpful for too.
Absolutely. And someone who's operated as a sole trader for a long time in the past, it's I guess it's easy to say, look, it's not important at all to have any procedures if you are operating that way. But the difficulty from going from that one person operation to even just having a contractor or one staff without any procedures is it's absolutely impossible to do it. You
Yeah.
literally can't go from just being yourself to having anyone else involved without having at least something documented. Um, so I guess I want to stress, when we say procedures, it doesn't have to be like that hard bound copy there. What we'll share today are some ways that you can get stuff just out of your head and at least get it started, because this is just as much about habit as it is developing out a lot of content that will show other people how to run your business.
Yeah. And even if you are solo, I would make the point that I found in my early days of my business when I was by myself, I would go to do another task, and 6 months later, I'd forgotten the password. I'd forgotten where you logged in and what was the second step and what was the fourth step and was it like this? And I realized I was spending more time on it than if I'd actually just written down those steps so I could refer to them again in the future. And I also used to lean on interns quite a lot in my early days, and I still love giving interns the opportunity, and they need that sort of help so that you're not dedicating your time to training a new person, a new person, a new person. They can actually just get on with it, which they're much happier with generally too.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool.
That's a very good point.
Shall we move on, Laurel, from
Yeah, of course.
yeah, cool. So online procedures and systems can help lots of businesses. You help lots of businesses. There's some examples on the screen. Can you give us any, examples of businesses that particularly helps, or, really good case studies along these lines?
Look, I think you've given a good example here of retail or hospitality. That one makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure how many people in this group are a part of that. Probably, I guess it's primarily service-based businesses that would be logging in tonight. When you think about it, for Oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Um,
Businesses can procedures particularly help? I mean, it's all of them really, but is there any examples where you've seen a business really flourish because they put this stuff in place, and did it increase their bottom line or increase their productivity? Is there any sort of, experience you can share there?
well, I think the first example that you gave is excellent because we all know with retail and hospitality, the turnover for casual staff and part-time staff is so, so high. And like that example that you gave with the intern, it's almost impossible to be able to get someone trained, especially when you just, you've got a lunchtime service, you've got someone coming in on their first day in a cafe or in a restaurant, and they just need to hit the ground running. It's so much easier if you can have some kind of dedicated training program or some short list that's either printed or part of the computer system, that when that person turns up on their first day, they know exactly what to do and they can tick through the procedures. And it's all either live or it's something that's just really simple and they can follow.
Yeah.
Um,
Even that middle one, a lot of businesses I meet, they're starting up and they're excited to get on the journey, but they don't really think about retiring. But for one reason or another, a lot of businesses want to exit sooner than they sometimes think, don't they?
yeah, absolutely. And I've got a really good case study later of a business that I worked with where the owner actually wanted to scale up his business really fast within 6 months and wanted to move back to the UK so that he could spend some more time with his family and raise his child partially in the UK, which is where he was from. And yeah, he wanted to do that. So they got their intranet up and running and they were able to onboard 5 new sales staff within that 6-month period of time so that they could just get things up and running and be generating revenue while he was away.
Yeah. And I guess as well, even if none of these examples suit your business, just start, even if you've got not one procedure. And after today, you feel a bit overwhelmed because you think, I've got so much more work to do because of this program, or just in general. Just the next time you do a task, write it down and save it somewhere. And we'll give you some ideas on where that might be, because that is a start to doing this. And anything is better than nothing, too, right? Does that take the overwhelm out of it for businesses you talk to, Laura? Or how do you kind of get started?
Yeah, and look, I primarily will work with service-based businesses where it can be really hard to think about, well, what are the common threads in all the procedures that I do? Because you might think, and this is the number one problem that I hear from people is, oh no, but we're a bespoke service. We offer different solutions that are customized and tailor-made to our clients. And I know if especially if you're a consultant out there, you got to really think, oh, come on, what I'm doing, that's what they're paying me for, is to customize the solution and give my advice tailored to them. So doesn't this kind of go against what I'm selling? But underneath every single thing that you do, you can pull out a process. And I think it'll be a little bit more clear when we walk through some more practical examples. But I just
Yeah.
want to encourage people to go to kind of put whatever um, problems they've got in their mind out for a second. And just as we're going through today, write down a couple of ideas or even grab some index cards and follow along as we go.
That's a good point, because I've had staff that I've said, could you procedurize that, please? And they've said, oh, it's not possible to procedurize that. And I've had clients who have also said, you can't procedurize a business like mine. But I would dare say every business can be procedurized. Is that going too far, Laura, or would you agree with that?
No, it's everything. Everything can be broken down into step by step, even if it is just natural phases, and you do have to customize the actual output using some brain thinking. There's definitely some underlying piece to that that can be standardized.
Absolutely. Cool. So effective processes and procedures will be all these things. Again, we don't need to read every single one of these out to you, but what are the most important things when it comes to making effective processes, procedures, and standards from your point of view, Laurel?
I'm just rereading this actually. There's so many good points on it. Um, look, I think this slide is actually true when you're picking any piece of technology for your business. We always want to think about is it accessible from any device, like I mentioned before? So anything that we talk about today, I want to make sure that it's available using an up-to-date mobile app on your phone that can install on your tablet as well if you've got an iPad. Or it also is accessible in any browser window for you. And that's absolutely imperative that anything that you do follows that standard. Secondly, whatever you pick has got to be from a reputable company. So I think that one's probably not on here, but there's so many different options in the market for cool tech tools, and you've got to make sure that you're getting it from, that you're buying your solution or getting even a free version from a company that's going to be able to provide support to you on an ongoing basis. That's really important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else, Laurel?
Well, I guess that's more on the technology side. The other thing to really keep in mind around effective processes, and you kind of are alluding to it in the bottom right-hand corner where it says designed to empower and inform rather than constrain staff. The most important thing here is that it's, I guess, and I see this all the time when working with businesses that are doing this for the first time. It's really easy to, I guess, add in opinions or have kind of an assumption that the staff are going to have problems with it, or they might have certain issues. Keep in mind that when you're developing out the effective processes, your goal is to make it as stock standard as possible and just give information rather than, I guess, making assumptions about, what the level of experience might be for the staff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And my approach then with my staff is I'll write them, but I'll get them to test them, and they're never done, really. I give it my best shot, or I encourage them to give it their best shot, and I encourage a culture of, it doesn't matter if it's not 100%, just get something down, and we can refine it over time as we do test it out in different scenarios and go, you know what, step 4 isn't applicable anymore. We've, found a faster way, or, this needs to be updated because we've moved systems or whatever. So it is kind of an ongoing process, I would also mention as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the solutions that we're going to talk about today will have that element of feedback built in, which means the staff rather will be able to leave comments directly on, let's say it's an intranet or on a project and task management system, to be able to allow you to further refine the processes. And as long as you've got that fallback option and really easy ways to collaborate with your team anyways, you won't have to worry about your instructions not being perfect.
Yeah. Cool. So text chat in. We like to get interactive, as you guys know. So do you currently have any of your company's procedures, systems, and policies, number 1, documented? So if you do, well done you. That's a good start. Even if they're on Microsoft Word or a little bit out of date, if there's something, I'm curious to know where you are at. And Laura, will be interesting to hear their feedback on this because you'll see it. And secondly, are these stored online for access by other people, or are they your best kept secret on your hard drive or in a folder that's got dust on it on the shelf? So let's see what we're dealing with here. Laurel, have you got anyone feeding in so far?
I can see Christine has written no.
Okay.
I'm thinking that was in response to the first question around whether you've got any procedures documented. Stephen says that there are just very few, and they might be stored locally on the NAS or on a hard drive. Jen says some are documented on a hard drive. Daniel, you made a really good comment. One of the downsides of current apps and cloud services is that they change so often and procedures can be obsolete the next time you log in. Absolutely, we're definitely going to address that coming up soon. And Liz says, yep, she's got a lot of procedures on her server.
Yeah, that's awesome. So congrats to those who do. Congrats to those of you who are honest, and at least you know where you're starting from. And that's what this program's all about. Wherever you're starting, just start at whatever level and go up the levels. And hopefully after today, we can definitely get starting to do this up the list on your priorities. Okay, so procedures and policies your business might need. There's so many of them. How would you advise a business when you're starting to work with them on the stuff, Laurel, what they would need? Because it would vary from industry to industry and stage of business and bunches of stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will clarify, look, the core of the business is, or of my business rather, is not to actually write the policies and procedures or extract that information directly to create the intranet or whatever it is. The purpose is to choose the technology. So I often don't go into real nitty gritty with a business. I guess it sort of depends. I've only done that really with a couple of clients. That's not really my area of expertise. So we might get some people to comment on this if they see if there's anything that's missing. But I think what you've got here is it is a pretty exhaustive list. What was the one that I was thinking here? One thing that I would say is missing from that actual list that you've got is specifically around the financial stuff. So especially internally, you might have some bookkeeping regulations, how employees can submit expense reports and that kind of thing. That's a good one to have, sort of around the financials. But the rest of it looks really good.
Cool. And I guess in terms of how you prioritize what you tackle first, second, third, and so on, I would probably encourage all of you out there to consider the risks in your business and document them first. Because if you have policies on stuff like workplace health and safety, technology, anything in regards to compliance, in regards to your particular industry, certain industries have more compliance than others. If you can create that, take your staff through it, or contractors, and have sort of example that you have this in place, that is going to hold you in really good stead in legal situations, because you've got that to lean on and go, we actually have a policy for that. They actually didn't follow that. They've actually breached that. Therefore, you can kind of shift the risk, I guess. The other thing you could consider in terms of prioritizing is what is going to help you make more money faster. So if getting your sales things documented and getting more salespeople on board is going to help your company make more money, maybe prioritize writing those procedures so you can start to get help. I guess yet another perspective would be, what are the parts of your business that you're really struggling with that you really do need to outsource? So when I was starting my business, bookkeeping was something I just wasn't getting to. I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't good at it. And so the first thing I wanted to do was outsource, but I still had to document my codes, what I sold, how much it was, who my contractors were, just stuff so that any bookkeeper would understand how to basically manage that. And I could have the conversation, but have that as a reference point for them so that there was definitely no chance of misunderstanding. Anything you would add to that piece, Laurel, in terms of priorities of what you might go ahead and tackle in terms of what you create?
I will address that in 1 second. I've got a comment here from Amanda. She just mentioned that she can't see any of the slides. And I'm able to see the slides. I'm not sure if anyone else is able to comment there just to say if you're able to see them or not.
What's that? Sorry, the slide?
Yeah, sorry. One of the attendees is saying that they can't see the slides or that they're too small.
Okay, what can I do about that? Are you seeing them well on your screen, Laurel?
They're a little bit small.
I've got it in full screen, so I'm not really sure how much bigger I could make it. Is that any bigger? It's slightly bigger.
I wonder if it's because on you've got your icon there and it takes up about half the screen.
Okay, let me address that. That will definitely be the issue. I can make that smaller. I thought I had done that. My apologies. Just switching over, getting rid of my little Space Invader man or person or thing. It'll be exactly what it is. I'm glad you brought that to our attention.
There we go. Yeah, is that easier to see? Yep, cool. Steven says yes. Awesome.
Fantastic. So yeah, priorities. What do you get people to create first, or what's your advice there, Laurel?
Well, to be honest, and I'm not sure if anyone can relate to this as well. Oh, good, they're saying it's much better. But yes, these fixed processes are really important to a business as you're starting to get up and grow a team and scale. But the first thing that I would actually get a business owner to do and think about are the processes around service and product delivery. So because that's something that you're so tied to it. So like Amanda has said here, she works in a salon, or she has a salon. So I would get her to think about what are the specific procedures around customer service around a haircut, or customer service around I don't know, hair
up and what's an appointment.
The typical services. So like step 1, step 2, step 3, and really hone that service delivery, because that's the first thing that you're going to outsource. Business owners find the policies and procedures that are listed here on this slide. That's kind of the last thing that you start to let go. whereas your service and product delivery is the first thing that you start to hire other people to do.
That's very true.
So like for your business, Yvette, you do a boatload of web design and web development. Chances are in your intranet or your policies and procedures that you've got what does draft one of a website look like? How do we send out that first draft to clients and get their feedback on it?
Mm-hmm.
Then what's step 2 and what's step 3?
Yeah, we do it right from someone inquires in the prospecting stage of a website, right through to
Yep.
websites being delivered. We give them training, we give them a manual, and everything in between. And different people pay different parts in that process in regards to our business. But yeah, you could totally apply the same to yours. So we better move on in the interest of time, because we want to make sure these guys have time for questions and so on. In terms of what does a good procedure or standard look like, there's a few elements, but, you know, by the same token, use this as a reference point, but also use what makes sense for you. Like, I don't like to do hard and fast things, but I think it is pretty important to have a purpose and say why this policy or procedure exists. So an example might be, this policy or procedure exists to comply with current workplace health and safety standards in Australia under which we are governed, for example. Revision history. I might let you go into some of these, Laurel, because I'm sure you could do them better justice than me, but feel free to give examples and things of why you might want to include these things on any given procedure.
Yeah, no problem. And I think we'll address a lot of this around the actual technology demonstration as well. Definitely revision history. Your system that you're choosing should automatically keep a log of anytime anyone leaves a comment against something or makes a change, it should keep a version history. And that's why, you know, keeping items in a Microsoft Word document, unless you're really versioning it carefully and everyone can share, doesn't usually cut the mustard. When it comes to creating policies and procedures online. Yeah, I would say that's good. The person's affected. That's good. Who creates the documents and who should be the one to go and actually respond to those questions. That's awesome. So always really good to start off, even if you are going to start documenting just your service line, for example, always have an organizational structure and those contact people as the first part that you build out. The general policy, yep, I think that's good. Probably for people just starting off, they might not even have that information, but they could always allot for that space to have number 4, the policy. And then the definitions, that's great because so many businesses have got terms that they use, especially like for my business, it's very technology focused. There are tons of abbreviations and acronyms, you know, customer relationship management, CRM. That somebody who did not have a technology background and were coming in to do administration, for example, in the business, they have a really difficult time learning all of those acronyms. Responsibilities, that goes back to point number 3. And then, yeah, the procedures would be the rules, the regulations, and the methods around who's responsible. And I would say that's the 5 wives, 1 husband type thing. Your who, what, where, when, why, and how. And just make sure if you run through every section as you're building this out and you ask yourself those questions, you should be good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So text chat in, because we just want to make sure you're really thinking about this for your business and you haven't fallen asleep on us. What procedures, policies, and standards might you need to create for your business? Just do a little brain dump to us, a few bullet points, but obviously you'd really get the most out of this webinar, whether you're listening to this live or listening to this as a recording later, if you made a good old brain dump list of what you will start with. What would make the biggest impact and is highest priority, maybe highest risk? What would dramatically improve your efficiency or profitability once rolled out? And certain headings of any business generally has to have accounts procedures. Most businesses these days do use some form of IT. All businesses need to market themselves. All businesses need to have customer service. So there's some headings that you could start to think about that. But then there'll be other specifics in relation to your business. So feel free to read out if anything interesting comes through you want to share, Laurel, but this is as much a chance for you to really think about it and download your brain. So that hopefully helps you. Is there anything coming through on that front, Laurel?
Nope, I've just got one request one person says they weren't able to hear properly, so she's had to log off. And Amanda has asked about getting slides emailed. So Jen made a good comment here. She says, HR, any thoughts on Employment Hero? Jen, I think you're my new best friend, because I love Employment Hero. It's absolutely one of my favorite tools. And for those of you who aren't sure what Employment Hero is, it's an HR onboarding system. And I'm happy to actually hop on and share that. But rather than actually building out your HR processes using an intranet or trying to build out your own systems and procedures for onboarding a new employee, whether they're casual, part-time, full-time, whatever, Employment Hero allows you to select your industry. It automatically pulls the information from Fair Work and the awards, and it generates the contract for you. And once you input that person's email address, it generates the contract, sends it out, and then allows that new employee to accept the contract from their email on their mobile phone or wherever they're accessing their mail from. They automatically get a new account on your HR platform that's branded for your business, and they can input their superannuation details, their next of kin, all that information that you normally would have forms for. And then they're able to populate that information in, and it pushes to your payroll system. So you pay that person in accordance with the award based on the salary that's been generated in the contract. And that automatically syncs as well to Xero or QuickBooks Online, so that it all syncs up with your cloud accounting software.
That's a great tip. We weren't even due to talk about that tonight, but
No.
I love that tool, and I hadn't found a slot for that, and we actually did payroll last week or the week before, so that's great to get that in the mix as well.
Yeah, so that's just an example as well. Some software will actually do that for you. So it pulls all those procedures that are already in your brain or in your business, and it'll build out that workflow. Given that probably most of the businesses that are watching this are not stock standard, but don't have 100 staff, Employment Hero would be a great option. If you sign up for their entry-level plan and you use one of the 4 main superannuation funds, you also get free usage of the system. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in regards to the person who asked about the slides, all of the slides are made available in the program portal to people who are doing the full Level Up program. We don't usually send the slides out to people who have just signed up for one webinar, but we most certainly can do that if that's a special request. If you could just email us on info@thecreativecollective.com.au if that's your situation and request those post the webinar, we can certainly send the slide deck out to you. More than happy to share. So we better move on again. Laurel, we need to talk about what is an intranet or wiki and how does this fit in with this whole procedure, policy, process thing. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, sure. And look, I'll start by saying you're going to have a number of technology systems in your business. And an intranet is just part of an ecosystem that will assist you to get your ideas and your processes out of your brain or off of paper or Microsoft Word documents and into a really awesome flow that works for you. So we were just talking about Employment Hero, which is a standalone piece. An intranet is also sort of a standalone piece, or it also can be integrated with a whole suite of other products. And the idea is that rather than being a Word document, you're able to upload files, you're able to upload images, integrate your calendar if you're using a fully hosted solution, and build out basically a fully visual, editable, trackable, traceable policies and procedures system for your business that sits alongside a number of those other applications. I know you've made a comment on here about great integration with Google Apps, for example. We want to make it really clear. You can either get an intranet built into your Microsoft 365 or your Google Apps or G Suite email. Microsoft 365 and G Suite are the 2 most well-known hosted email, contact, calendaring, file storage, and intranet solutions. And you can either go with those, or Yvette, you've got a couple of really great third-party intranet options as well for people to choose from.
Yeah, we do. So maybe we should start taking a look at those. So as we always do through this program, we're going to introduce you to lots of technology that you could go and check out. And as to what's suitable for your particular business, I would say just go check them out. check out their features list, sign up for a free demo, and you'll soon know after playing with it whether it's for you or not. The other thing that you can do is jump in the Facebook group for the program. You only get access to that if you do the full program, and ask questions and you know, have specifics. Say, I've checked this out, but I'm wondering about this. And there's 500 people in that group. There might just be someone who's already using that tool or who chose not to go with that tool and can give you some, you know, honest feedback about why it didn't work out for them. The other thing to realize is basically what Laurel was just saying. As we've said all along through this program, you do want to think about what's the right tool for this solution. So in regards to tonight, we're talking somewhere to put your online procedures, policies, processes. But if you can get them to work together, that's always a great scenario, because it's, you know, you can end up with quite a few systems, quite a few subscriptions. So the more streamlined that is, the better. And on that note, next week's topic is all about automation. So that's somewhat about linking these things up, even if they are separate, because that is still possible. But let's start with the first one. This is actually what I've chosen to put my own company wiki or intranet on, as Google Sites. So you've used Google Sites a whole lot, Laurel. Like, can you tell them a bit about it?
Yeah, certainly. And guys, I do have a demo loaded up, but I think I'm not able to share my screen at the moment, so we might have to go just with this screenshot, if that's okay.
Yeah, we might take a look at a live one maybe at the very end, if that's okay. We'll whiz through these.
No problem. Sorry about that. I'm using a new computer. Look, with Google Sites, the great thing is that I mentioned before is it's fully integrated with your Google suite of products. So you log in once, you can be in your email in one tab, and you've got your intranet loaded in another. The other amazing benefit is that you've got your company YouTube account that's also linked to your Google account, and your Google Drive for file storage. And you can populate your Google Sites using videos and large documents that you've already got stored in Google Drive. So let's say you upload a Google Doc that's got a boatload of information or templates of things that your staff need to send out to new customers, for example. You're able to then create that document, and then when a new version is created in Google Drive of that document, it automatically uploads the intranet on Google Sites. So you get what I mean when I'm talking about we create a fully functional ecosystem for your business by using either Google or Microsoft 365 with their SharePoint option.
Yeah, so just to be clear, guys, I guess another way of thinking about it, if you're struggling to get your head around this, it is like a website, or like an internet site, but we, you know, call it like an intranet, because only the people you want to share it with, perhaps just internal team or specific contractors, get to see this particular website. It is live, but it's not something that you can Google and find. And not only that, you can set different access settings so that some people can see the whole site and even create procedures, and others can only view it, and others can only see certain sections or even certain pages. So you've got full control on who sees what and when. So if you have a contractor that, you know, you want to onboard, and then after a while they're not going to work with you any longer, you can remove them. So, and you can also, as Laurel was saying, use different, formats for communicating stuff. So you can have documents, you can have videos, you could have audios if you wanted, you could have spreadsheets. There's different procedures and ways of, I guess, training people and giving people the information they need to do their job.
Yep.
Cool. So SharePoint, as you all know, I don't use Microsoft a whole lot, but you have used it a little bit and have some familiarity, right, Laurel?
Yes. And look, it's exactly the same conceptually, right? You've still got your email, you've got your OneDrive for file storage, you've got your contacts built in there as well, and you've got your calendar built in to that ecosystem. So you're able to create your own little cloud world for your business that only your employees can see using SharePoint. Now, the cool thing about SharePoint is that, and this might be a little bit, thinking further down the track for your business, but it's got a lot of automation as well. So you're able to generate forms, much like you can with Google Docs and Google Forms, to be able to. Oh, somebody's saying they can't hear me here.
I can hear you okay, Laurel.
Okay, good.
So, guys, if you
Cool.
do experience technical problems, it could be the internet connection at your end, but be assured that we are recording a quality audio recording at our end. It's definitely coming across loud and clear to me, and so you can always access the recording if you're having any dramas receiving it with any internet connections at your end.
Cool. All right, it's back. That's good. So basically with SharePoint, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same structure, and it does give a bit more robust integration with, if you, especially if you really love using your Outlook and your Microsoft PowerPoint on your computer, it's going to give you obviously that integration fully seamlessly, which can be an advantage to some people.
So tell me, Laurel, if I am a Microsoft user, if I've purchased Microsoft 365, do I automatically get SharePoint, or is this something I have to add on, or how does it currently work with Microsoft?
Yes, look, let me load up the pricing page. I do believe that SharePoint comes automatically included with the premium version. Although, yeah, so it comes with both Office 365, the Business Essentials version, and also Office 365, the Business Premium version. So both of those, one is at the lower end of the spectrum and one is at the higher end. So chances are it is included already with your Microsoft 365 subscription.
So if you are going to stay in Microsoft land and you haven't upgraded to Microsoft 365, that is something you would have to do first, because I know when we checked in on ecosystems, and I think lesson 2, some of you did admit you're on some very old versions of the software and definitely not the online version, so you wouldn't be getting access to the cool features like this. So that's something to be aware of. So that slide there kind of runs through the differences between SharePoint and Google. So I guess you could totally also be on Microsoft with Microsoft 365 for Outlook or Calendar or whatever it is you like about Microsoft, and you could use Google Sites. I guess conversely, you might use Gmail and Google products and choose to use SharePoint for some reason as well. So there's lots of different options here, and you've just got to evaluate what's the right option for you.
Yep, definitely. It really comes down to your familiarity with Office products, ultimately. For my business, I love operating completely in the web browser. Like, I don't download hardly anything to my computer. So Google works perfectly for me. But it really just depends on sort of your personality, I would say, in a way.
Yeah. And also maybe what you're just familiar with, if you've always been in Microsoft and you've never changed. And sometimes companies insist that that's what you use, or some industries. So, yeah, I think some maybe medical centers and things like that still quite like their Microsoft World stuff. So I went looking to see, okay, well, apart from those two solutions, what else is there out there? And I did discover Igloo. And I said to Laurel earlier today, I actually had never heard of this, but it did win 2016 CMS Critic Award last year for Best Intranet Software. So I had a quick look at it, and it looks quite cool. What I like about it, from what I can see, in comparison to, say, SharePoint and Google Sites, is it looks like you can create a pretty nice looking intranet pretty easily. They've got some nice templates, and it's pretty cheap at $8 a user as well. So did you check this one out, Laurel? But I mean, you made the comment you hadn't heard of it either at the time, right?
Right, I haven't heard of it before, and I didn't log in to create a demo account on this one. But look, I would say it probably is not, because it's not a fully best of breed option. Like, they also are doing some other stuff with it. You might not get the best outcome if you're just looking to use it for an intranet. Like, I know the next one that you've got, for example, is just an intranet software.
Yeah.
And when we talk about best of breed software, we want to definitely use things that are, they just sort of are serving one purpose, if that makes sense.
And they tried it. It is pretty key as well, isn't it? They've been around.
Yeah, that's right, and tried and tested.
Yeah.
So of course, you know, if it does look good to you, definitely log in and get one of the free trials for that one. If I were going to go down the track of testing, it would probably be, for me, if I weren't doing SharePoint or Google Sites, I would look at Zoho, which you've got up on the screen, or the next option that you gave as well. Now with Zoho, it's a bit of a different story because Zoho has replicated what Microsoft and Google are doing by creating all of these separate little pieces that then do build together. So you can have Zoho Mail, Zoho CRM, Zoho Email Marketing, Zoho recurring billing, all those different things. And to be honest, I used to hate the Zoho products. I really did, because the user interface was really ugly. But now they've upped the game and they've gotten a lot of funding. And it does look like they're aimed to have a little bit of a comeback in the market.
Yeah, so I think again as well, I totally agree with everything you said, but with Zoho, it's again an ecosystem decision. Some businesses I know choose to do everything in Zoho. So I've introduced Zoho solutions in quite a few of our lessons now. Last week I talked about that they do have an invoicing system. This week I'm saying they do have a wiki system. So probably if you went this way, you would do everything Zoho with all your other systems as well. That makes sense. Get it nice and streamlined. But if you're not going to go all in on Zoho, then probably this wiki would not be right for you. But they're also quite affordable too, aren't they? Would you say mid-range? Not the cheapest, but they're not the most expensive?
It would be lower end of the market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Good to know. Now, I also found this one. This had quite a lot of presence, I guess, when searching on the internet for intranets and wikis as well. Also looks pretty easy to get up and running with and look pretty cheap. Have you got any experience with this one, Laurel?
No, I did log in though to have a quick look, and it looks nice and neat and clean. It gives you a lot of pre-built templates. Like you can see there in that screenshot that it's got the directory, it's got a bit of a knowledge base, it's got some HR forms that are already there and manuals pre-created. And I would say if you're just looking for something that you want to use and you don't have Microsoft 365 or Google G Suite, then this is definitely a great option for you.
Yeah, that feature of having some templates is pretty nice as well.
Beautiful. Yep.
Want a bit of a head start because this whole procedure thing's new. That's pretty good helping hand.
That's right. But look, the price, Yvette, is a bit steep. They have got a free trial. However, it is $100 a month USD. So you've got to really commit to it.
And use it. Yep.
You got to really want those templates.
Cool. Okay, so this one is about the typical features. So we've already sort of touched on some of them in the process of going through those different solutions out there. But help us understand, Laurel, what should a wiki absolutely have, and what are the things, you know, that you would suggest they look out for when they're in the market for a wiki or an intranet?
I guess in terms of, you know, that's a tough question to ask, because really the most important thing is that you're just getting things out of your head. So I would say as you're starting, do not worry about the formatting at all. Do your best to, I guess, be just consistent in terms of adding at least bullet points or numbered lists, and pick between one or the other if you're going to do it procedurally. But otherwise, I wouldn't worry too much about the formatting, because a lot of these will allow you to go back and amend the formatting in bulk anyways.
Yeah, cool. I personally, out of all the features, I really love the revision history. I love seeing, oh, someone from my team has updated this recently. And I love getting notified that someone has updated it too, because then I can go, oh, that's good to know. There's now a procedure on that when I need it. I like being able to customize them and make them look like my own, like with my own logo and things like that. And I like making them look a bit pretty. I totally agree with your point, like just get something down. But over time, there's different learners in this world, aren't there? Like even yourself, some of us learn really well from video, some of us from reading, some of us from an image or diagram of an overflow or workflow. So if you can put all those different elements into a wiki, it's going to be a better wiki at the end of the day for you, even yourself, or for others to use.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, homework. If you're not already using a system to document your procedures, we would highly recommend that you research the system's outline and more thoroughly. And look, you could totally go Google, now you know the terminology too, on just wiki or online procedure or intranet, and see what else is out there. Look at their features page, look at their pricing page, sign up for some free stuff, throw some, you know, pretend procedures up, and just get started and see what you think. And you may need to talk with your team and get a bit of a download from them if you do have team on what procedures you need and what sort of wiki might suit you, and whether you should look at the Google environment or the wiki. Are you going to move all to Zoho and all those kind of more strategic decisions as well? So that's your big homework. Right. We also need to collaborate on getting these done. So it shouldn't all be up to just you if you have got team members, right, Laurel? How do you get everyone helping out with this when you're working with a company?
Really, it's just letting go of that control and giving not necessarily admin access, but edit access to your team to be able to make changes. Especially around Google Sites. Now, I'm not saying that you need to grant your team access to your entire file folder structure, because I know you've got Dropbox up on the screen. I want to be really clear that doesn't mean grant your team complete access and permission sharing to all of your files. It just means whatever intranet you decide on, do give them some kind of responsibility to go in and edit and make changes, and make it a requirement that when the procedure changes or a new procedure is put in place, that the first thing you do is go back to X, whether it's Google Sites, Microsoft SharePoint, or Papers.
Yeah, I guess also a suggestion on this is ways you could use this is to say to your team, if you have a procedure on your hard drive, please could you put it on Dropbox, because we're going to be getting a company wiki together. Or please, if you've got email templates that you regularly send that you think other team members might find helpful, please could you drop them in Dropbox, or upload them to Google Sites or a Google Drive or to SharePoint. Like, there's all these options. And then the other two are two technologies we've talked about in past webinars. There's Skype, there's private Facebook groups. There's all these different communication tools that you can use to communicate with your team. And so get them saying on there, guys, what do you think is the most urgent procedures we would create? Or if you could name, you know, one thing that you wish you knew how to do, or do it quicker or easier, or someone in the organization knows a lot about what is that thing, and get that discussion going on there, particularly if you have virtual groups, virtual teams, which a lot of people do these days.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. And then you got to not just create it and it be the world's best kept secret, but you got to let them know, don't you? So here's a couple of examples of how I created a procedure on how to do financial reporting for our company. And I did a post in our company Facebook Hangout and told them this is where you'll find it. And I also popped it on our company Skype chat. And so they'd been told in a couple of different formats that existed, whether they logged in or not. Have you got any other examples of just how to make sure that you're not just creating them and people aren't buying into it? Like, how do you get that culture into the organization of using this stuff?
Oh, it really depends on the business. I'm working at the moment with a large hospitality organization, and they've got about 400 staff. And look, with them, they still send email out, and then it needs to be dispersed to the teams verbally. And they have a whole procedure that happens from the head chefs and the general managers out to the team, where it all happens and is verbal. Some of the communication goes out from the HR onboarding system, and then some financial related information goes out from the payroll system. So I guess it just really depends on your organization and your culture.
Yeah, for sure. Some do still do email, and that's another great point. Bring it up in meetings and go, hey guys, just letting you know, in case you missed it, these procedures now exist. Please follow them. Please, create them. Please give us feedback on them, all that kind of stuff. So actually, that's my next point. I forgot I had that in there. Make sure procedures stay on the agenda meeting. And so the sorts of things you might discuss are what still needs to be created, who will create them and by when, what are the new procedures which have been created and where can they be found? Because just because you've put it in a folder, it makes total sense to you. Someone else might go looking somewhere else and expect it to be there, think it's not there, and go create it again. So encourage them to always search thoroughly before they go off and create one, and seek feedback. So I really commonly create them, and then I will give them to interns and things and say, I want you to test this procedure out for me and be honest and tell me if it's hard or not or it doesn't make sense to you, because that means it's not good enough and we need to improve it. And I also say it should be everybody's job to create and improve procedures, not just one person, because let's face it, a lot of small businesses can certainly not afford to just pay someone who all they do is create procedures, because that is a non-billable task. And while it might make you more productive, it's usually quite a big expense to do that. But some people do subcontract that to people, and there are people who can do that if you do need to outsource that task. Anything to add to any of that, Laurel?
No, nothing to add on that point necessarily. I've got a couple of other things that I really was hoping to share though.
Yeah, I think on the next slide or something, we're going to do those live demos. So if that's what you mean.
Oh, great, right.
Okay, homework. Make sure you work out who's going to be responsible, what the approval process will be. Can they just throw them up, or do they have to go via someone to check that they're appropriate and relevant and accurate? How are you going to encourage your team to contribute to them, and where will they be stored? Are they going to go on Dropbox and then load it up to Google Sites, or are they going straight onto Google Sites, or do they get emailed to you and someone gets them up, or what is the go? I'll zoom through this because I really want to get Laurel to show you some live demos too. So site permissions, I mentioned way back that different wikis work differently, and you can share them with everybody in the organization, or you can share them by a section or by a page level, and you can really customize that. So here's some examples of how you would do that on Google. So you can refer to these slides, but Google has some pretty good help files that will help you enable page level permissions and so on. So let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to this live demo of some tools, a company wiki, or whatever Laurel wants to show us. So I'm just going to come out of full view and come over here.
So that says I've got to install the screen share extension. I'm just going to do that, and then I might need to actually reload my page. So if I drop out for a second, is that okay?
Yeah, do it. So guys, okay. Yeah, we haven't done a lot of this live stuff. So I'm going to, I want to close my video, but I want Laurel's to come bigger. So hang on, I'm just going to work out how to do this. Where's Laurel? There she is.
All right.
Are you still with us, Laurel? Nope, she's dropped out like she thought. Steve made a comment that any product which offers legal forms templates needs to be a paid subscription, and so relatively expensive as they need to be updated constantly. There are some Australian products mainly dealing with HR matters, but they are not cheap. So yeah, fair enough, Stephen. I guess you've got to weigh up the cost versus benefit for stuff like that. And then Jen has said maybe papyrus, I think is how you'd say it. Maybe that's what you're answering, Steve. Would templates relate to Australian law or more US? I'm not sure. So yeah, check that out, and it may or may not be appropriate. And Laurel wanted to know suggestions on a system to voice record verbally and have them converted to text. There's Dragon Dictation you could use, but Laurel is the queen of knowing cool tools. I bet you know others as well. So I'm just going to minimize my screen now and make yours bigger, Laurel. Have we got you there from a sound perspective? Can we just test that?
I hope so.
We have.
Yay,
Yahoo!
Good. Sorry, okay. I hope this isn't rush for everyone. I hope you guys are all right to stay for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I know you do like to end at 8:30.
Yeah, or even guys, if you're happy to go a few minutes over, then let us know on text if you're happy. We just thought a live demo would be a nice way to show you everything we taught you tonight live in action.
That's right. I do very quickly just want to touch on, I guess, 3 things. First thing, this is the brand new Google Sites. Okay, so if you're worried about the Google Sites that Yvette showed in those slides looking just a bit outdated, that's because that's the current version of Google Sites, and this is a brand new one. It's awesome, and you can add a logo, you can add background images, change the header type, you can easily add in text. You can add in files from Drive and drag from YouTube and the calendar, and it's so super simple. And you guys know probably by now that I love Google products. But look, it's really simple to use this, the new version of Google Sites, and sync everything up from Drive, like I mentioned before. Definitely give this one a go. You can actually log in to Google Sites without a G Suite subscription. You can do it using your free Gmail address or by logging in with your company email address into Google. So there's no cost to you.
So, Laurel, completely selfish question. If we've got an existing Google Sites like I do, how do I convert to the new one?
There should be an option underneath your existing site to convert it to the new Google Sites, but I'm not able to answer that question 100% for you, just because it's quite new.
Okay. Yeah, I'm super excited.
It could be that they're rolling it out slowly, like they might not offer it on everyone's account.
Yeah, sure
You
thing.
will definitely, to convert it, you'll have to have a paid G Suite account though, to convert your old site to the new version.
Yeah, sure thing.
Cool. The second thing I wanted to share is this awesome Asana product. So probably you've seen Asana before, or Yvette has mentioned it to you. One thing that I really love is that Asana, as a project and task management system, can allow you to map out your processes using the Kanban, or I don't know if you pronounce it Kanban or Kanban, or how you say it, but you can now create projects in a board instead of doing tasks just in a list. So for example, you could have process 1, and this might be a little bit small. I'll just make my screen bigger here. See how it looks like a sticky board? We'll add columns, and you can create phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And I know for myself, before I actually convert things to an intranet, I map it out using a board or like sticky notes or something, because it helps me get really clear on what the actual process is. So if it's a website development, then you have initial consultation, you send the proposal, you send draft 1, you send draft 2, and you can actually map out what are your policies and procedures that happen during every phase. All right. The last thing that I want to share is a software called Loom, and you can visit it by going to useloom.com. And you've got my videos turned up here. Loom essentially, and I'll just go to useloom.com to show you the landing page. It installs an extension in your Chrome browser and allows you to click and then record your screen directly within your Chrome browser. Now my camera is turned off, which is why that head turns up as black. So you can capture your screen and actually record what you're doing, and it automatically records your voice, records the screen, records your video, and generates a link to the video immediately. I'm just going to open up this one. As a sample, this is something that I sent to a client yesterday. It automatically processes the video, and you can see it's loaded it up here. At certain junctures, you can even add comments, and you can add notes at the bottom, so that when you're sharing information either with a client or with another member of your team, it's really clear.
So that's great. Actually, a little bit ago, Liz, who's online tonight, said, do you have a suggestion on voice recording or video recording? So that's going to be really helpful to her, I imagine.
Yeah, perfect. Now, Loom doesn't itself convert your audio to text. That would be awesome if it did that alongside and it turned up in the comments. However, what you can do is test out in Google Docs. If you open that up, there's a little microphone that you can press, and you can record your voice and it automatically types for you. So I don't have that loaded up, but I could load up a Google Doc. And it's just a native feature.
You can hear me typing. I'm just responding.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm making sure everyone gets answered while you show us stuff.
Yep.
I'm sure that's a multitask.
Yep. So if you go underneath tools here, you can go to voice typing. You can click on that microphone. We'll allow my microphone, and it should automatically type what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Woohoo.
Do you find, though, I think you're privileged because American accents, these dictation things love. They don't like my accent.
They don't like the Kiwi accent, do they?
No, they really don't. They're
That's
Kiwi.
funny. Oh. I think that answered a couple of the questions that were there as well. I know somebody else asked a question about knowledge base creation. I know for my business, I use Help Scout, helpscout.net or helpscout.com. And it also has got this docs function so that when you're answering support requests, you can also build out a doc or a wiki that's public to your clients and then embed those documents directly into replies. So that's just another thing for you guys to think about. It's just helpscout.net.
Yeah, absolutely. I might read out some of these other comments and I guess we could sort of wrap this and you might have thoughts on some of these, Laurel. Andrew Moller asked, how do you get older long-term employees to accept changes or improvements to procedures? That's a tricky one, Andrew. It really is a HR discussion, and I'm no HR specialist, but I definitely manage a few people. I guess it's a slow process and it's a communication process. It's announcing what you're doing, why you're doing it, what the benefits are, maybe taking some of the content from tonight as to why you need to move in this direction, and then keeping it on the agenda, like I said, at the meetings. So sooner or later they realize this is really happening and we're accountable. I actually do have on all my staff when they start with a company's job description. And you do have the right to update someone's job description in a very respectful way, that they are required to create and update procedures as part of their job. Every single one of my employees has that on there. So that's something you could perhaps look at too. Laura, have you got any other suggestions of how Andrew might get around older long-term employees being resistant to change?
It might not be a very PC answer. Especially if it involves technology. Look, the only thing that you can really do is once you have a plan in place, is implement one thing at a time and make it very clear to your employees what will happen. So it all comes down to communication and letting them know, and then give them the choice. And sometimes I've seen it quite a lot recently, where you do lose some of your older employees. I don't mean older in age, but could be long-standing employees. That don't want to get on board with inevitably the technology that comes along with changing policies and procedures and updating things. And that's okay too, as long as you feel good in your conscience that you've had good communication with the team.
Yeah. And I've got more of a comment than a question here from Daniel. He said, wikis are great, and when open to employees, focus on actual work procedures and info instead of policies. Yeah, that's a good point. Policies about lots, but yeah, getting work procedures will definitely get the work done. So we've got a few people asking for slides, so we'll definitely follow up with those. Jen made a comment that that great employment hero that Laurel mentioned, ANZ, are actually offering Employment Hero Premium freebie for business customers and discount for non-customers. So for those of you who were at our recent workshop, we had ANZ there and you met some of the local people. So I'm sure if you asked any of them, there was Beck, there was Andrew Squires, there's a few from their team. They'd be more than happy to help you with that. So that's a great.
And Employment Hero, it does have a free option as well. It's just not going to allow you to do some of that extra cool stuff that I talked about before around the full onboarding process. You'll only be able to do the basic paperless onboarding.
Yeah. Sure thing. All right. Well, Laurel, I think we better wrap up. Do you feel like you've covered everything you wanted to share tonight?
No, of course not. There's a million more things that I would love to share, but I hope that those last couple of tools at the end gave you at least a few more things that you're able to go out and check out for free.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I bet we could both talk for weeks on end, really, about all this stuff. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So we will send you a survey about tonight, because about every 3 webinars we do ask you to do a survey. We'd really, really appreciate your feedback. We will send you the slides. You will get access to the recording. So thank you for joining us for tonight. Thank you especially to Laurel for giving up her time and staying in town in Sydney so that we could access her amazing knowledge. We really do appreciate it. And for any of you who are not part of the full Level Up program, we would dearly love you to get involved. If you found this one webinar useful, imagine how much we could teach you if you actually did the whole program. We've got stacks of webinars. We've still got heaps of events left. We're actually planning more, both workshops and webinars alike. So there's a couple of links you can check out. The register, if you want to register for the program, so you get the full benefits with access to mentors and the Facebook group and all the resources, and then the list of events that's coming up as well. We would love to see you on more webinars and at more live events. The next one's the 13th of July, so it's really not that far away. Next week we have automations we're talking, and I've actually got Heather Porter, who you know as well, Laurel, and yeah, we'll be talking about how to connect all these tools we keep telling you about. If you kind of want to use one from a different ecosystem than another, how can you actually click them together through APIs and automations? It's actually one of my favorite topics. You'd be really into that too, wouldn't you, Laurel?
I love it.
Yeah, it makes life easier, doesn't it? When you, if you've kind of got to teach all these guys the long division I explain, and then that's really the calculators, isn't it? It's the really cool, fast way to get stuff done. Yeah. So any parting words from you, Laurel, before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. Just thank you very much for your time, everyone. And I hope that you got at least one new useful tip or trick out of the whole thing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laurel. Very knowledgeable and a great presenter as always. We so appreciate you getting on board. And I'll add you to the Facebook group in case people want to ask questions and or even find out about your business. So do you want to do a shout out for your business? You do a free consult, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. If you go to www.getdigitalflow.com, you'll notice that there's a free digital audit on there, and everyone's entitled to go online, fill in that checklist, and get up to 30 minutes of free complimentary question and answer on your technology systems.
Very generous. Thank you so much. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off here too. We'll see you online next week for automations, and we'll send you out all these resources really soon. Good night.